Let's go!
Welcome into Behind the Brand podcast. I'm your host, Adam Hayes. To my right is Bob Payton, my co-host. And to my left is our guest today, Grant Sherfick. Welcome, Grant.
Welcome.
Hello, welcome.
Yeah. So tell us about you.
Yeah.
Well, I recently have come to adopt the term a journeyman entrepreneur.
Oh,
And so
you get to explain that.
yeah. It's taken me a while to find that. You know, I've had a lot of great opportunities and experiences throughout my life, and I'm sure we'll touch on some of those. But you know, I've always taken the entrepreneurial spirit to heart in every opportunity that I've been presented. And you know, here recently, you know, I had a brick and mortar venture that I started and recently closed. I have a consulting company that is very active and involved in a lot of economic development and community development projects in Southern Indiana. And so that's where I'm at right now today. But yeah.
Well, how did you get here? Tell us about, you know, where'd you go to school? How'd you get started as an entrepreneur and all those types of things?
Well, it's interesting. You know, my mom always had a business going, some kind of business, and I was always involved with helping her from a very young age. I think my first job was at the age of 13, where I got an actual paycheck.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I was working before that. You know,
What were you doing?
for
free?
Yeah, well, mostly for free, for food, for shelter. You know, my mom was a very creative person, is a very creative person, and always had stuff going. So she just needed help doing this and doing that and running things around here and there. And so, but it taught me a lot about how to approach life and how to approach situations, and to look at, you know, every opportunity as a something potential or something new in everything that you come across.
Nice.
So, you know, I, like I said, I worked from the age of 13, and I don't think I've ever been, well, that's not true. I have been unemployed, but I've always been working on something. So I got involved in politics at a very young age, right out of high school, worked for a congressman for a while in Southern Indiana, both on his official staff and on his campaign. I was his campaign manager. At the time, the youngest campaign manager of a top 10 congressional race in the country. And we were successful. We won. That taught me a lot about the human condition, about what motivates people. He was a really interesting guy to work for, and a great mentor, because he was not a politician before he got involved in politics. And so, you know, he just had a different approach than a lot. And it was interesting and refreshing. I learned a lot from that opportunity. But after that, I went into the insurance industry for a while. I had my own insurance agency. I started that in 2006. Bad time to start an insurance agency, right?
Yeah.
If we can only hit a crystal ball.
So what type of insurance were you selling?
Property casualty insurance. I was a multi-lines agent, so I did life, health, property casualty. But you know, everybody was very risk averse, and the economy was not doing well, and so trying to get people to change insurance was not necessarily what people had on their mind at the time.
Sure.
So, and then I wrote on a job. It was basically an accounting job for a defense contractor at NSWC Crane in Southern Indiana, and which I was very familiar with because my father had worked there as a Navy civilian for many years. He retired from there years later with over 30 years of service, and also the congressman was very involved in 2005, the last BRAC round there. And I was very involved with senior leadership at Crane. But if you would have told me that I would have ever worked there, I would have told you that there's no way.
Right.
It just wasn't what I saw in my future. And I took this opportunity and applied for this job. They hired me. I got there and I sat in a cube and stared at the wall. They had nothing for me to do.
Oh, always good. Yeah, it's a nice way to
Did
start.
you invent your role then?
So, I got up and made friends and, asked for work and tried to make myself useful. And I, again, was given some great opportunities to work for some amazing people, mentors that taught me the business in DoD, and ended up doing everything from acquisition and contracting to logistics and life cycle sustainment.
Yeah.
Really opened the doors up a lot, and my the potential of what I could do from there. And I went from there working on base into the industry directly and working for some, at the time, I worked for a distributor based out of Virginia Beach, small business by numbers, by SBA standards, under 500 employees.
Sure.
But when I started there, they were a $1.5 billion company annually sales.
Okay.
And when I left there, they were almost $4 billion. So not really small.
Wow.
Yeah.
From a financial standpoint. But that, again, opened a lot of doors for me, a lot of opportunities. I was hired to be the Crane sales rep at the time. They'd never had a full-time guy calling on Crane. And so developed that business. And then they kind of restructured internally. They had a separate team that was doing vendor relations and from the sales team and the program management team. And so they combined the vendor relations team with the program management team and broke it into commodity areas.
Sure.
And so what I had done at Crane, where my background was in small arms and night vision and weapons accessories. And so they didn't really have anybody in mind for that commodity that had experience more than I had experience. And so they asked me if I'd be willing to take the job, and I said, yeah, but I'm not moving to Virginia Beach.
Sure.
And they said, well, you got to move to Virginia Beach. I said, well, I'm not going.
I'm not.
So what ended up happening is they never hired anybody. I ended up doing the job anyway. And the director of HR was like, this is insane. Make him the market manager for weapons and optics. And so they did. And but what that meant was I was traveling all the time.
Sure.
And I think the last year that I was working for them, I had over 130 flight segments in that year.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of crazy. My son was getting to an age where he was getting really involved in activities, and he was 8 at the time. He's 18 today. So I decided to look for other opportunities. And,
Sure.
And I had gotten to know and done business with a small woman-owned company down in Greene County, Indiana, and they did. They're a defense contractor servicing Crane, but they did service work, or commonly referred to butts and seats, like what I started out doing on base. But they had a small manufacturing operation that they had kind of inherited through a contract that they were a part of. And the government had basically abandoned the equipment in place. The contract got, once the contract finally got finalized, they sunsetted the program, and so they just abandoned it in place. And so they had one person working in there part-time, and I had started to use them for a few things when I was at the other company, and saw it as an opportunity to grow some business for them. And so that was great. And Adam, you actually helped me with that. When we first started looking at their marketing, there was not really any marketing at all to speak of.
Marketing was quotes.
Yeah. and especially not on the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
There was really nothing. So that's really how we met.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So through a mutual friend, and that was great. I was there for about 6 years, and then I kind of got I don't know. Complacent's not the word. I think it was the opposite. I was so, I don't know. I just wanted something different. Sure. And I started looking for other things. That's when I started the consulting company initially, and then a colleague of mine in the industry reached out to me, and he had a kitting company based out of North Carolina that we had worked together for years, and he was growing significantly, making investments and growing, and he wanted to set up a logistics operation, and he didn't have the knowledge or expertise or the facilities in North Carolina to do that, and he asked me if I would be willing to come on and help him with that. Nice. And we decided to do that in Southern Indiana, and a lot of advantages to that. I mean, just servicing DoD from a whole, but Crane is definitely a huge customer, but centralized location and in the U.S.
Sure.
Right off I-69 and all of that. And so we found a building with a sufficient amount of space that we would need, about 60,000 square feet, and we signed a lease for that, and then we started hiring folks and purchasing equipment and putting in ERP systems and inventory systems and all of those fun things. And we got that off the ground, and they're still growing successfully, employing, half a dozen full-time employees down there right now, and doing well with it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. In that process, it just turned out that the facility we found was in adjacent to my hometown in the county that I grew up in Martin County, Indiana. And going through that process, setting up that facility, hiring those folks, from there, I got really involved again with people that I grew up with, people that I knew, but hadn't really interacted with in a long time. Got really involved with the Economic Development Corporation down there, and Executive Director Jessica Potts, who is just a firecracker and amazing passion for the work. I mean, nice. And it's in rural Southern Indiana, or probably any rural county in Indiana. It's a tough job to have. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, and she's amazing. So I honestly was inspired. There were a lot of folks that were, like I said, that I knew growing up that were maybe a little bit younger than me, a little bit older than me, who had decided to move back and raise their families, and were making some investments in the community, and there were some people taking some risks. Sure. And so that's when I decided to open the hardware store, the brick and mortar I mentioned earlier. And of course, you know about that. You helped me with several things there, but and unfortunately, we just recently closed that.
Sure.
But a lot of lessons learned. To say I don't have any regrets is not true. I mean, but I don't regret taking the risk, sure, and taking the chance on it.
Sure.
For sure. And hopefully it inspired other people to do something, which I think it has. There's been a lot of momentum in the community. There's been setbacks, but there's also been sure, successes. And I have to say this about Martin County and Shoals in particular, is a very resilient community, and I do believe that they're going to pull through it. And I'm still invested and engaged there. It's just that particular business was it was time to move on. So,
what would be the one thing that you would say that you wish you'd have known or done at the beginning that you now know?
I think the brick and mortar business is difficult. And a hardware store, we had it's a huge inventory commitment.
Correct.
We had over 10,000 SKUs in stock, and it was a pretty small store compared to most other hardware stores. I mean, we were right under 3,000 square feet, so we weren't huge. And we tried to curate things, but I think probably, there's a lot of lessons learned. There's a lot of lessons learned, but as we're going through the liquidation process of the inventory now, I think I wish it would have taken more time. I wish it would have been a little bit slower and taken a little bit more time. I think I spent too much money too quickly to try to get the doors open, and should have done a little bit more, taken a little bit more time to understand what the needs were going to be on a daily basis, and not, I worked with an industry distributor who has been in the business a long time, very well known. But at the end of the day, they're in the sales business, and so they're going to try to sell you what they're selling.
Right. Not necessarily what the community needs or wants. Sure.
And in that process, it was difficult. We in the retail business, you buy, if you're buying for new product or to set up new store, you buy in what's called a planogram, or which is essentially a 4-foot section of shelf space that you've got product on. And all these distributors have their planograms, and so wish I would have bought less planograms and just started small, and then added things along the way that we needed for folks, because it was a lot up front, and and I think it just carried over, and was kind of weighing us down as we were moving through it. But that would be one thing. I think entrepreneurs and small business owners, especially with new startup, I think we want to see progress, and we want to see things moving along, and that's important. But I think just as important is to step back and to make sure that you're moving, you're ready to move to the next step, and you're moving forward for the right reasons, and that you fully have thought that through. Not that you won't make mistakes, because you will. Okay. It's just, that's this business and the way it is. But yeah.
Awesome. So you're also doing economic development work. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So, again, through this process, getting re-engaged with the community, got several projects right now working with the city of Lagodi on a comprehensive plan. Also working with KCARC, which is an organization out of Knox County, Indiana, that owns the facility in Lagodi, where we actually leased the space for the logistics operation. And that building is 160,000 square feet total. It's one of the largest industrial buildings in the county, and it's been severely underutilized for the last 15 years, maybe longer. Working on a plan to redevelop that. Got a lot of regional partners that are very excited about the potential that we've got going there. So KCRC has been a great organization to work with. They have a vision to, further their mission, which is to support folks with disabilities. They're a disability service agency, and primarily do the revenue generation activity for them primarily is contract manufacturing with folks with disabilities. And so it's been a great opportunity to work with them and to learn about that. And, those contracts that they have, very similar to a lot of the government contracts that I had worked on before, but little nuances, and it's been really great to learn that new pathway, and I've been able to help them to see some opportunities there as well that I think we're gonna pursue. So yeah, it's been very diversified. And then I'm involved in a volunteer basis in a lot of work that's being done in Shoals. We started the Historic Shoals River District, which is a certified Main Street organization for Shoals. We started the Martin County CEO program, which is a entrepreneurship program for high school juniors and seniors. It's a year-long course. It's a county-wide program, so we were able to bring both schools together under one umbrella, which was very much needed in Martin County, and been very successful. We had our first cohort this year that was very successful and recruited for next year, and looked to that to be just as successful and grow the program.
How many were enrolled in that?
I think we had. I think we ended up with 13 or 14.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and out of two very small rural schools,
pretty
you're
good.
looking at class sizes of less than 100 in both schools. So pretty good.
Any of those that you can foresee having a ongoing future?
Oh, absolutely. And what's really interesting about it is a lot of them already did have a business. There's one young man that does homemade granola and has been very successful at doing that, and goes to local farmers markets and stuff like that. And, so yeah, when we were reviewing the applicants, and the number of kids that already had some kind of side hustle was pretty impressive.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's exciting to see. The purpose of that program is to get those kids to realize the opportunities in their hometown and where they're from.
Sure.
And so they actually have to start a business. They start a group business when they first start the program, and then each one of them has to start a business, and they go through the whole process. At the end of the year, they do a trade show, a community trade show fair, and they invite the community in to procure their products and services.
Yeah,
and it's really a great opportunity.
Is there a mechanism where those alumni will now support maybe the inbound and keep that cycle moving? That's good.
Yeah, the program was developed in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and it's been going on for I think almost 15 years now. There's a program in India. There was a early program. I think they're in their 12th year now, down in Davies County, Indiana. Okay. They were an early adopter of the program, and the success stories that they've had out of that program has been amazing. And not just individuals who've started their own business, and some of them have used that to help pay their way through college. Some of them have just made a living off of it. Right. And some of them have become very instrumental in helping other small businesses grow in the community.
It's awesome.
And so it's really inspiring to see. But yeah, the mentor, the alumni, they help recruit the next class. They help mentor.
Nice.
So they stay pretty involved. Opportunities for them to stay pretty involved. Let's put it that way. So yeah.
I'm curious. I'm from Boone County, right? So we've got a really weird mix of what I call in the one corner, high density, higher income. As you shred out through the county, it becomes very rural very quickly, and we've got LEAP going on and all that hubbub that goes with it. But I'm curious of what I would say the challenges of a rural community like that for doing what you're doing, as well as I call it the opportunities that you see. Yeah. I'm just interested to know kind of from where you're sitting in southern Indiana, what's that look like?
Well, when you step back and you take a look at it, this won't be a surprise, but it's just, it's the amount of people is the biggest challenge. When you really think about it,
pure population is not there per se.
It's more difficult to do a lot of these things because you just have less people to do it. Yeah. And so if you look at, I saw some numbers the other day on an article that was posted on Facebook, or not, on LinkedIn actually, and I can't recall the specific numbers, but it was talking about the number of on average, the number of people who volunteer in a given population. And let's just say that's 20%.
Sure.
I can't remember what the specific numbers were, but let's say it's 20%. So 20% people are willing to volunteer an hour and a half a week. Okay, well, that's fine when you've got a population of 100,000 people or more. But in Martin County, there's a population of 10,000 total.
Right.
In the town of Shoals, there's less than 1,000 people.
All spread across the
Right.
county.
And so, that means there's a lot of the same people doing everything and wearing a lot of different hats, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And one of the, and just to speak to the work specifically, and this article was getting to was over half of that volunteer time they were spending in meetings. So you already have a smaller amount of people available and a finite amount of volunteer hours, and you're
consuming it with
in meetings. And
Right.
and it's so true. It is so true. It is, and I think it's this idea that we really need to focus on doing the work, whatever that looks like, instead of sitting around talking about it.
Yeah.
And that really is a huge challenge. And because you do want input, you want inclusion, and you want conversation, but you've got to. I have always felt like you've got to gain some momentum, and you've got to keep that momentum. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
And that's because there will be challenges, there will be setbacks, and you've got to keep things moving along. And it takes action. It takes people doing things to continue that
It's kind of like
momentum
the
to move
snowball
forward.
effect.
Sure.
Yeah.
You build momentum, and if you delay too long, the snowball melts.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, it's human nature. We all have this tendency for, wanting things to be a certain way, or, think it has to be this perfect thing or this perfect way. And a lot of times it's just,
Ship it.
just do it. Let's do it. And we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna make mistakes anyway.
That's entrepreneurship.
Get
anyway,
over it.
Right?
Let's get over it and move forward. And I think that's the biggest challenge. I think that's the biggest challenge. One of the biggest challenges is just the amount of people available in these small communities, and the proper use of the time that they give,
Sure.
to actually be effective.
It's a great thought.
Yeah.
Great thought.
Yeah.
So tell us about your family.
Well, I'm married to my wife, Rose, for 12 years, and amazing, wonderful woman. And I have two boys, Reagan, who's 18, and August, who is 5. And they are each other's best friends. And,
cool.
big spread in age there, but it's just amazing to see them interact with each other. And such a blessing, absolute blessing. Amazing family. We recently adopted a dog.
Tell us
from the
about this.
Southside Shelter.
How'd this come about?
So Rose and I had adopted a dog when Reagan was probably maybe 7 or 8 years old. I don't remember exactly, from the Humane Society here in Indianapolis. And great dog. She was several years old when we adopted her, and she just got to a point where she just couldn't manage anymore, and so unfortunately we had to put her down. But she and so we went several years without having a pet. And I grew up with dogs and pets, dogs and cats. Rose had a dog growing up, and I don't know. I would say that one of the biggest influencing factors was our 5-year-old, probably because he was just very curious about a dog. It was kind of interesting because as he got a little older, he he was very interested, but he was also a little standoffish,
Scared, sure.
and stuff. But he would talk about it all the time. And so, my older son, graduating high school and being gone a little more and not around as much. I don't know. We kind of talked back and forth about it, and my wife would look at the shelter pages and occasionally we would talk about a dog here or there or whatever. And then this one dog kept popping up, and we both thought he was a cute dog, and we had kind of talked about it, but she decided to make an appointment for us to go see him and meet him, and so we did, and we came home.
That was the end of that. Yeah.
We came home with him. So
I think that's a lot of stories.
Yeah, exactly.
We came home with him. So,
Yeah.
but he was obviously well cared for by somebody at some point. He's a very, very well behaved dog.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they found him roaming the streets, on the east side, and they tried for weeks to find an owner and couldn't find one.
Right.
And so we're fortunate that now we get to be his owners, and he's been a great dog. It's been really good. I've been trying to make a concerted effort to get more exercise and get out more, and it's helping to have him. And we live on the south side of Indianapolis in the Garfield Park neighborhood, and which is wonderful. Has been a wonderful place for us to have kids and to have dogs. And
Sure.
the park right there is just a great asset for that community and that neighborhood. And I had kind of gotten away from spending as much time in the park, not having a dog, and not, when Augie was a baby, we used to, put him in the stroller and walk him around the park and stuff. But a couple years now, haven't really been able to, hadn't really had a reason,
Sure.
let's put it that way, to get out and enjoy the neighborhood and the park. And I'm doing that now, 3 times a day.
There you go.
Good.
But it's been good for me and the dog. He's been a welcome addition to the family, and so
We've had all rescues ourselves, so
yeah,
they're special, right? They always have a little challenge somewhere.
yeah,
You kind of uncover that in the first 6 months.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing to do, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever. But once they're in your family, it's you can't beat it.
They adopt you back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
So what's the favorite book that you've read this year or listened to?
I would have to say it's The Magic Shop, which I think I had shared with you.
You did, yeah.
How would you summarize that?
Well, and I'm trying to remember. I'm so horrible with names, remembering names sometimes. I'm trying to remember the author's name.
We'll look it up.
Yeah, but
It's called Into the Magic Shop.
Into the Magic Shop. Yeah, Into the Magic Shop. And the author is a neurosurgeon and a professor at Stanford University in California. And he grew up in a very small rural community in the desert in California, and a really difficult childhood. And he had an experience where he met a woman who basically taught him how to manifest and how to think about life, in a different way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's I think there's a lot of common pop culture around this concept of manifestation right now, that it's not what this book's about. And he talks very specifically about how his teacher told him, that if you don't use it right, that, you're going to have problems. If you're not focused on the right things, it's not going to turn out well for you. But and he comes to that realization at some point in his life, and he's had a lot of. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. I highly recommend it. It was it's a moving.
You need the tissue box. Is that what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's a very moving story, and
We'll add that to the list. That's good.
yeah, it's very good. I would highly recommend it. He also has a podcast. He helped to establish I'm trying to remember the name of it. I'm so horrible at this, but he ended up partnering with the Dalai Lama on a project for a center for mindfulness at Stanford University, and it's one of the only projects that the Dalai Lama has supported directly that's not affiliated with
Right.
Where he's from, and it's very interesting work. A lot of cognitive science. I learned a lot in the process, and he's got another book that I started as well that was very insightful as well. But it's just understanding how our minds work, and the conscious, the subconscious, and all of these things that we don't really think about. But the thing that really hit me, the message that really hit me the most, I think, from the whole thing was just like, it matters what we put in our brain.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we can choose to put
Garbage in, garbage out. Yeah.
or we can choose to put positive things in.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing. The story is moving, and he has a very compelling story. But I think that the things that happen as a result of him fully embracing what he was taught at a very young age is that when you focus on the positive and the good, that you can have way more impact.
Sure.
On everyone else, on your own life and everyone else's life.
Gotcha.
And so that was the most meaningful thing I've read this year.
Awesome.
Cool. So aside from family, dogs, and Garfield Park, what do you like to do? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because this is a topic that's come up a lot recently in my life, something I've reflected a lot on. For a long time, my life was a lot about my work, and I didn't have a lot of I would say close relationships and people that I talked to on a daily basis and interacted with on a daily basis outside of my work.
Sure.
And it's gotten to a point in my life where I realized that, that it's probably not a good thing. There's more to life than work. I think society kind of, especially with men, I think emphasizes that a lot, that you've got to, but for me, I found that I need something more than that, to get outside of myself, to be more interactive with, my fellow humans, and,
Sure.
and to open myself up, be vulnerable to that. And so, I don't know. The answer is I'm exploring.
Work in progress. That's all right.
I'm exploring that. I have recently been going to the gym and working with a personal trainer, and that's something that exercise is not something I ever intentionally put a lot of focus into, but it's been good. It's developing, and both of my sons are very interested in fishing. My older son has really kind of gotten into it. My younger son is very interested, taking them fishing a little bit last year, and I think we're going to try to do some more of that. And I love to be outside. I love the outdoors. My wife got me a state park pass for Father's Day, and we're going to make some plans to get out and explore, do some kayaking and hiking and fishing and camping and all of that stuff. And so my youngest boy, Reagan, when he was younger, he was very involved in Cub Scouts, and my youngest boy is interested in Cub Scouts, and he's at the age where he can start that now. So I think we're going to do that, and so
that'll keep you busy, by the way.
It's a work in progress. It did then. I ended up being the Cub Scout
the den leader.
For the Weeblo's den 2 years in a row, and then was very involved for a while there, and enjoyed it a lot. But again, I was very focused on work at that point, and I was having a hard time leaving it behind. But today is a different opportunity to focus on other things today. So
awesome.
But
It's been great having you on.
Yeah, I appreciate
how
you
do
coming
people
in.
get in touch with you if they?
we can go to LinkedIn and look for Grant Sherfick LinkedIn and find me there, and love to connect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go!